I was not 100% accountable. I thought it was, but I worked for many, many years under this 50-50 rule, I'll meet you halfway, and clearly that's not being 100% accountable.
There are two types of accountability. The first is called 50-50, and it means I'll do my part if you do your part. And it's associated with a culture of blame. Now, I know you're not going to think about your culture and your organization as being a culture of blame, but ask this. Do you have behaviors or do you see behaviors such as finger pointing, blaming other people or other groups, or protecting yourself against being blamed? Because if any of those behaviors show up, chances are you have at least some remnants of a culture of blame. And the second type of accountability is 100% accountability. Now, that may sound like a daunting concept. I mean, after all, 100% accountability? Here's what it means in high performance. It means that I'm accountable for my impact on two very important elements. Number one, for my impact on business results. After all, that's how I'm measured in performance. And number two, I am accountable for my impact on people. Now, in a 50-50 culture, our more traditional cultures, our cultures of blame, we don't think about our impact on people. In fact, we tolerate poor behavior, lack of teamwork, and people not collaborating because we consider it just the way people are. Well, it's not the way people are. And in a high-performance culture, it's unacceptable. Because in a high-performance culture, it means we are each 100% accountable for how we impact not only business results, but how we impact each other. Welcome to segment 2 on personal accountability. The reason why this segment becomes so important is if we don't start with personal accountability, we cannot build a culture of accountability because it all starts with the individual. It starts with each one of us and individual choices that we're going to make. So I noticed before we get too far that you have some funny looking sunglasses sitting in front of you. Why don't you try them on? Or you're going to take the big shades, right? And when you have well, you guys look really great. Look at this. When you have sunglasses, what does that do to your view of the world?
Filter.
And when you say filter, Faith, what do you mean by filter?
It changes the way you, well, I guess you look through your... Yeah,
through that lens?
Really, through that lens, yeah.
It changes the way you would see something.
Yeah.
Yep. What else do sunglasses do?
Everything's rosy.
Everything's rosy. Just look at the world that way. What else? That looks great, Larry. What do sunglasses do?
It's a little foggy with these.
A little foggy with those. But we could say that when we have sunglasses on, it produces a certain perspective, a certain view of the world, correct? It filters, it blocks, it's automatic. Is it even akin? Remember we talked about blind spots before. So sunglasses represent blind spots. We can have blind spots, things that we don't see. Is that fair enough to say? Okay. So look at each other through your sunglasses. When you look at each other through your sunglasses, what do you notice? How do people look?
Ridiculous.
missing parts of them because they're
Oh,
hidden.
that's an excellent point. Missing parts of people. Not seeing all that's there. Anything else when you look at each other with sunglasses?
Look a little dark.
Looks a little dark. Changes our view of people. Yeah. What else do the sunglasses do when you look at each other? Mike, what's happening down there?
People can't see into me.
Oh, now that is an excellent comment. They can't see into you, and how does that leave you feeling at that moment? Good or bad? Actually, for you, I think it would be good.
Yeah.
You didn't want to give me that answer, did you?
Well, no, I was thinking something else.
Well, when people can't see into you, do you not feel protected?
Yeah. You feel like you can get away with things
Yep.
that you may not otherwise be able to get away with.
Right. So let's now.
Why guys invented mirrored sunglasses.
That's mirror sunglasses. It protects us, and then we see the world a certain way. So blind spots, going back to that. Blind spots say that we all have elements about ourselves that we cannot see, behaviors that impact others that we cannot see that others see also. It also says with blind spots that as long as they are blind spots to us, we have no idea how we're impacting people. So that brings us to the fundamental principle of personal accountability. Do you like those sunglasses so much you want to keep wearing them?
Not really.
All right, you can take them off. But if you want to wear them, I'm not going to stop you. Personal accountability starts to say this. It's our willingness to be 100% accountable for our impact on two elements. Now, this is the critical one because the first one's common in business. In business, are you not 100% accountable for your impact on business results? Yes. That's what you're hired for, correct? your performance review. You're going to be measured against the results you produced. Now, did anybody in the hiring process ever say to you, you know what, I'm hiring you because you're going to be 100% accountable for your impact on people? Anybody ever tell you that?
No, never have.
And if they told you that, what would you have thought?
Wacko.
That was what?
Wacko.
Wacko. Crazy. Why would anybody hire me if I'm accountable for my impact on people? Now, let me ask you another question. Are you leaders?
Yeah.
Leaders and managers? And I don't mean by title or position. So everybody in this room would be a natural or a titled leader or manager, correct? Yes. Right. If you're a leader or manager, what's your most important element that you deal with?
People.
People. Yeah, if you can't manage and lead and inspire people, what other tools do you have? You have what? What else can you do? If you can't,
people, not much.
no, you can use your technology, you can use other resources, you can try to mandate, but will you get the discretionary effort from people? No. So now we know that if we're going to be 100% accountable, business results, yes, we are accountable for business results. That is the fundamental principle of business. But secondly, to produce those results, we have to be 100% accountable for our impact on people. Now, the point of the sunglasses, of course, is that when we don't recognize that we have blind spots, that means we impact people in ways that are less than inspiring. Has anybody here not inspired people? Ever demoralized anybody? That ever happened?
Yeah, once or twice.
Once or twice, right? Can't remember exactly when that happened. And when we demoralize people, what happens? How long does it take to get them back?
You may never get them.
You may, well, now that's a great answer. You may never get them back. And Remy, you said years.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky. Because when we demoralize people, here's what happens. We demoralize somebody. They put on their sunglasses. They actually put on these. They put on the sunglasses that protect them, and nobody can see into them, and then they start withdrawing. Do you ever see people withdraw? They shrink back. They shrink the game. They withdraw. So in high performance, we can derail people and have them be uninspired very quickly simply by our impact on them. So here's our most fundamental principle, and it's a fundamental cultural practice, which says this. We are 100% accountable for our impact on business results and 100% accountable for our impact on people. So here's the most fundamental question. What impact do we want to have on people? What impact do you want to have on people? How do you want to leave people? How do you want to engage them?
I want them to be inspired and motivated.
So you say inspired.
Yeah.
What do you mean, Louise?
Just to feel good about coming to work every day and to feel good about being part of a team.
And you want them energized?
Exactly.
You want them energized. You want them going on all cylinders, correct?
Yeah, firing on all cylinders for themselves, for the team, for the company, just to make a difference that way.
Good. Okay. How else do you want to impact people?
What I like to think about is that people may never remember exactly what you said, but they're always going to remember how they made you feel. And that's how I operate. And someone walks into a room, I either feel great, you kind of feel the hairs on the back of your neck go up. So
isn't that a great description? That's true. People aren't going to remember our words, but they will remember. So when Janita walks into the room, we're going to have some associated feeling about her one way or the other, aren't we? And they're usually not neutral. We usually feel good or we don't. We usually feel inspired or we don't. We feel motivated or we're not. That's the feeling part, isn't it?
yeah, and I feel one of the most important things as a leader is to elicit that feeling in people.
Yes.
Feeling great and wanting to be great.
Because a big mandate of leaders, and I'm talking about leaders at all levels, and I'm not talking about title or position because that is totally irrelevant in leadership. Anybody can be a leader. Anybody should be a leader in high performance. It means that the way we impact people on the emotional front, correct? In terms of the discretionary effort, their level of engagement is what provides the foundation for sustainable long-term business success. Has there been a time when you have not been 100% accountable as a leader, John? Or have you always been perfect?
Absolutely not, Loretta. I don't think there's any such thing as perfection, number one. And to respond to your question, I was not 100% accountable. I thought I was, but I worked for many, many years under this 50-50 rule. I'll meet you halfway. And clearly that's not being 100% accountable.
So what happened then when you were operating at 50-50?
Well, I'll take a look at it from a business results versus people perspective. I was very caught up on saying, what are the business results? And I thought, as long as the business results were looking great, all was great. But what I was not seeing here, it was the impact on people. And that takes us back really to our cultural practice number one. We're holding people accountable for business results and impact on people.
And that has a lot to do with the environment you're creating there at Farm Credit.
Without a doubt. Our goal started with myself, but with our senior management group, we need to create a safe environment. We need the people to be feeling fully engaged at all times and have an environment that will happen.